Hey you, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. So we are going to hop right into this February budget, and we're going to start with the monthly expenses, and then we're going to back into the income that we need for the month. So for the monthly expenses, nothing really changed, so I'm going to pop up what last month's monthly expenses were. The only thing that I updated was the amount for the utilities, of course. So for the water and trash, last month I budgeted $130, but I increased that to $135, just because that was a little bit closer to what we paid for January. And then the electric, last month we paid $25, but this month I'm lowering it down to $20 just so it's more in line with what the bill typically is around this time of the year, as well as we do have like an $8 credit. So I expect that bill to be lower this month. Natural gas, I budgeted $110 last month, and that was way under budget. The natural gas ended up being $238 or somewhere around that. So this month I'm going to budget $200 because it's still cold here in Southern California. So it just seems like a good idea to budget more than is typical this time of year. So for monthly expenses, the total is $3,141.30. So moving on to cash envelopes, I am budgeting 400 for gas, 600 for groceries, 200 for Costco, and 150 for caffeine. And caffeine does include Starbucks, which I typically reload at like $25 a week. And I did factor in getting some Red Bulls for the month. So that is what I'm including in caffeine. And this probably will be a budget that's here to stay because I do get Starbucks regularly, and hubby will need it once he starts med school. So I haven't factored in his caffeine budget yet because he won't need it until the fall, but I know that is going to increase. So cash envelopes total this month is 1,350. Okay, moving on to debt. The only thing that we're paying on right now is the car loan, which is $256.29. If you're new, that does not mean that the only debt that we have is the car loan. It just means that that's the only debt that we're like actively paying off. Like, yeah, we have credit card balances that we are paying down, but we're just making mostly like the minimum payment. So I'm not like starting our debt payoff journey yet. So I'm not tracking that. We're just making timely payments. So moving on to the sinking funds, you guys might have noticed that I did move some things from the cash envelopes. So I moved them down to the sinking funds. And that's just because I feel like it's a little bit more appropriate in the sinking funds area, because for cash envelopes, when we hit zero, you're supposed to stop spending. But for diapers and wipes, like if we don't have any money, like if we spent all the money for diapers and wipes, I'm not going to not get diapers and wipes, if that makes sense. So I thought it was more appropriate as a sinking fund. So I made that update and gave the $100 for diapers and wipes in the sinking funds category. And then next, I am starting to get back to doing sinking funds for clothes. And I am doing $250 this month. And then for beauty, and beauty includes, I should put this as beauty services. I'll probably update that next month. But beauty services includes hair, nails, and eyebrows. And for that category, I'm going to do $400. And then if you've been following me, you know I typically have like a dump category called sinking funds, but I just updated that and called it pay yourself first. So that'll make sense in just a minute. So the pay yourself first amount is going to be 755.07 this month. And then the last category is planned expenses, but you guys already know that just the way my budget is set up, I do have my business expenses in the planned expenses category. So the business expenses this month is $9.99 for iCloud. Adobe Cloud is $19.99, Epidemic Sound is $15, and HP Ink is $50 for a total of $59.98 for business expenses this month. And then the only actual planned expense that I'm budgeting for this month is Valentine's Day. And we typically don't do anything for Valentine's Day except like cook a fancier than normal meal at home. So that planned expenses category is going to be $159.98. So budget summary, just to make sure the math is mathing. Savings account, I didn't mention it because we're not putting anything in it. So that's zero. Monthly expenses came to $3,141.30. Cash envelopes came to $1,350. Debt expenses came to $256.29. Sinking funds came to $1,505.07. Planned expenses came to $159.98. So that brought us to $6,412.64 for this month's income. Okay, so of that $6,412.64, I already know that for the business expenses, we need $59.98. So the pay yourself first is the money that's going to be remaining from the month's income because we don't need it for expenses. So that's like free money to meet all of our like financial goals. So that is $755.07. So the remaining amount that we need to pull from the money that we have set aside because we are 1 month ahead is $5,597.59. So with that, that is the monthly breakdown of my February budget. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn you guys over to the overhead so that we can do the weekly breakdown portion so that of these bills that I just went through, I can know like when to pay them. So if you're new to the channel, I do use my own drill down budget planner, which allows me to take my annual budget and break it down to a monthly budget and then break it down to a weekly budget. And then I go from there and have like an expense tracker that I update every day. But for now, I'm going to figure out when we need to pay each of these bills by breaking it down into either paycheck number 1 or paycheck number 2. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, let's do the weekly breakdown portion of this video. So I am going to save the income for last just until I know how much money we'll need for the first half of the month and the last half of the month. So we'll go ahead and skip the income. The budget section, or I'm sorry, the savings section is not going to get anything, but I still don't know how much is going to roll down from income. So I'm going to skip that as well. And then for the monthly expenses, so because we're 1 month ahead, our dates, like that our bills are going to fall on, are not going to change. So I'm actually going to use a shortcut and take the January budget and just take this page to fill out this portion, because typically what I would do is use the 1st through the 15th and then take anything that is pink dots this month. They're really light, so you probably can't see them on camera, but they are pink dots. I would take those and then write them in the first column, and then anything that's a green dot that falls between the 16th and the last day of the month is going to go into the second column. So because we are 1 month ahead, like I said, our 1st and our 15th bills are not going to change because we're not budgeting by paycheck, like bi-weekly by paychecks. That's why I like to use the colored dots, especially when I was budgeting bi-weekly. It kept me on track of what bills went in what paycheck, but it's pretty easy and streamlined now just because I am budgeting the 1st through the 15th and the 16th through the last day of the month every month now. So let me go ahead and write these in here. Alrighty, so that is, oh, and let me do the car loan. So I'm gonna scooch the car loan down because I got some washi tape right there. So 256.29. Okay, so I don't think anything else on here is by date, like it has a due date. So, oh, all of these, all of my business expenses, those are all going to fall into the first paycheck. Okay, so I'm going to put this back where it belongs in my January section. Alrighty, so I do have a line here for Disney Plus because our Disney Plus comes through Verizon, and I thought we were on a 12-month like free trial with them where Verizon paid for 12 months. And I thought my husband got a text saying that it was going to end soon, but he swears he didn't get a text like that. So I'm like, I don't know. And then I logged on to the actual Verizon website and I didn't see anything about it ending. So I don't know, but we're just going to put it down for like this and next month and see if it actually ends. If not, I'll just take this line off. But that is the monthly expenses. So we'll go ahead and add up each column so we'll know how much we need in the first half of the month and the second half of the month. All right, so 2,452.07. Okay, the second half is 689.23. So if I add these two together, it should equal that 3,141.30. Okay, and it does. So that means I did my math right. So we're going to go ahead and keep going. Since I'm getting back into budgeting, I'm not exactly sure what these amounts should be. I'm just making my best guess and then trying to keep track of how much we're actually spending so that I can budget the right amount in the next month. So for gas, I want to just set aside 400 in the beginning of the month, and then groceries, just because I figured now that we can go ahead and set the gas aside because it doesn't matter how much we spend in the first half of the month and then the second half of the month, as long as we have the money. So I'm just going to set all of it aside in the first half of the month. And then groceries, I want to make sure that I'm only spending a certain amount. The first half versus the last half of the month isn't that different. Like we don't have anything that's majorly different in our schedules with the first half of the month and the second half of the month. So I feel like we should need about the same amount of money for the first and second half of the month. So, but I want I want to figure out what that amount is. So I'm still going to split the groceries into the two periods. And then Costco, I want to have at the beginning of the month just because I want to make a monthly Costco run. And I want to be, it's silly, but I want to be like one of those YouTubers that do monthly Costco hauls. I don't know, but that is a goal though. Just in all seriousness, that I want to go to Costco once a month and get all of our items that we need from Costco once a month. So I want to have that at the beginning of the month. And this Costco budget, I do want it to grow so that we have all of the money that we need for Costco in like the beginning of the month. So I don't know exactly how much we're going to need, but this is just a starter and then we'll build up. And then caffeine, I want to have that. I want to have that at the beginning of the month just so I can load our Starbucks card and just use that throughout the month. And then I can see in the app like how much we actually use. And I came up with this number by basically giving myself $25 a week just to reload the Starbucks card because I think that's the default amount. But of course you can change the amount that you want to reload your Starbucks card. But I just typically reloaded $25 per reload, and I typically reload it every week. So I know that's $100, and then the extra $50 is just because the drinks that I typically get cold brews, and they come out to about $6 per cold brew. So I want to factor in that difference, plus give a little bit more for whenever my husband drinks coffee. So that is going to be, the first half is going to be 1,050, and then the last half is going to be 300. So of course those two added together are 1,350. So we'll go ahead and move on to debt, which is going to fall in the first half of the month per our calendar. So I'm going to go ahead and write that in. And then diapers and wipes, same thing. We get those from Costco. So I'm going to go ahead and write all of that in the first half of the month. And then a new sinking fund category is clothes. We'll go ahead and write 250. So that, and then I want to start a sinking fund for beauty, because I know beauty was up here in cash envelopes and I was just putting away money for my eyebrows. But I have been getting my hair done more frequently. So for hair, nails, and brows, I got a hair appointment on the 10th. So that falls into the first pay period. And then I am going to need my brows done soon. And I do want to have my nails done when I get my hair done. So I'm going to put all of that beauty money in the first half of the month. And then this year, pay yourself first. If you've been following me, this is just sinking funds. You guys know I always have like a dump category called sinking funds, but I basically renamed it to pay yourself first, so that the extra money from this monthly budget is going to be a sinking fund still. So and I did that just so I would have somewhere to put this pay yourself first money that we have left over from this monthly budget, so that I can have somewhere directly to put it. So I'm going to skip it for now, and then go on to the last section, which is planned expenses. And Valentine's Day, it falls on the 14th, but we are probably going to celebrate it the weekend before. So I'm going to put that in the first half of the month. Okay, and then I already did all of my business expenses in the first half of the month, so that 159.98 is going to go in the first column. So let's go ahead and add up all the totals from column number 1, just so I know how much income that we need. Before we do that, I already know that 59.98 for my business expenses is going to need to fall into the first half of the month's income. So the first half of the month, of course, is going to take the bulk of the money, which is going to be 4,000. I have a little clip right here. 4,668 spot 34. So I know we need 4668 spot 34, and then 59.98 for my business expenses. But I want to have a $100 buffer. So $100 buffer in that first half, just in case, anything comes up, or the utility bills are more or less than, or actually are more than expected, then I could just have that $100 instead of going over budget in paycheck number 1. So yeah, because the natural gas shouldn't, there's no way we should hit 300 for natural gas, but this day and age, anything is possible. So 100 out of that 755 spot 07 leaves us with 655 spot 07 for the second half. We already put away all of our business expenses into that first paycheck, so we're good there. And then all I got to do is take the amount that is left over from the monthly income, subtract what we need from the first half of the month, and then that'll give me what we have left for the second half of the month, which is 929 spot 25. Let's add up the income for the first half of the month. So that is 4,828 spot 32. And then if we add up the second paycheck, it's going to be 1,584 spot 32. And then if I add these two together, it should equals this. Okay, 6412 spot 64. Okay, so we're good on the income. So the income amount, since we're not saving anything this month, we'll go ahead and do 4,828 spot 32. and then 1,584 spot 32. We'll go ahead and keep going with the totals. So 7,280. Oh, okay. I was about to say 7,000. What is going on here? That's more than our monthly budget. Absolutely crazy. Let's do that again, but subtract this time. Okay, so that's better. 2,376 spot 25. So we're going to subtract our cash envelopes. Okay, so 1,326 spot 25, and then we are going to subtract 256 to 9. 069 spot 96, and then I'm just going to mirror what I did up here for the pay yourself first, for down here as well. So I only need 100 for our buffer in the first half of the month, and then the rest we're gonna have in the second half of the month. Okay, so we are going, let's add that up really quick. 850 for our sinking funds, which leaves not the right amount. Oh, I see what I did. I accidentally included the 59.98 in this income portion. Okay, 4608 spot 36. All right, we corrected that by subtracting the 59.98 from the income up here. So I went through and corrected all of my totals. So now we are down to 159.98 like we should be. So that I can carry that forward. Okay, so Valentine's Day, $100 went down to $59.98, and then subtract the business expenses of $59.98, leaves us with zero remaining for paycheck number 1, which is what I want since I also do a zero-based budget in this drill down budget planner. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing for paycheck number 2. All right, so we went through and we did paycheck number 2 really quick. We already went through and did the budget summary. So income is 6,412 spot 64, 0 for savings. Monthly expenses was 3,141 spot 30. Cash envelopes was 1,350. Debt is 256 spot 29. Sinking funds is 1,505 spot 07, with planned expenses that includes business expenses is 159.98. So that is the weekly breakdown. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my expense trackers by basically writing everything from column number 1. I'm going to write on expense tracker number 1, and then everything from column number 2 I'm going to write on expense tracker number 2, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up this video. Alrighty, so we went ahead and set up both expense trackers. So this is expense tracker number 1, and I'll just put number 1, and then expense tracker number 2. So once February starts, I'll go ahead and, well, not once it starts, but the next step is for me to go into Q Money and transfer all of the money that we need and put it into the different cubes so that we're set up for the month. And then at the end of the month, we'll go ahead and do our month-end review and break down like how much we spent per category. So like groceries, gas, all that kind of stuff we'll do right here. And then I'll make my notes for the month. And yeah, and then I have just this notes page. So that is how I set up my monthly budget every month using my drill down budget planner. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much for staying to the end. It does help the algorithm let everyone else know that it is a good video to watch. So thank you, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.